come to order, stand for pledge allegiance. Rob, you lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Hart, you're good. Can I say something before we start? This is a personal thing. Go ahead. It wasn't mentioned at last month's meeting. For those who did come to last month's meeting, I was not in attendance. The reason that I was not in attendance, I had medical procedures done. I was actually under the influence of anesthesia and really couldn't make it. So I do apologize for not. Something would have to be really bad for me not to make a meeting, but I just wanted to tell everybody so there's no misconception that I was doing something else.
I think you're still under the effects of anesthesia.
I am. But anyway, thanks. I am.
Speakers of Munn Street. There's, oh, I'm sorry, roll call. Roll call. Sorry. Go ahead.
Councilman Paul?
Here.
Councilman Fell?
Here.
Councilman Aldo?
Here.
Councilman Petrucci? Councilman Stein? Vice President Bodadian?
Here.
President Ingles?
Here. Let's see, we go 1, 2. The Munn Street, people from Munn Street, I mean, it's all for that club down there, right?
Correct. Yes.
Could there be just maybe one person?
Yeah. No, we want to all speak, I think.
Yeah, I told that, yeah.
But it's going to be repetitious.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't, okay.
No. We have to live up there.
Pardon me?
We have to live up there.
I don't know, just, okay, Linda Danlovich,
Yes.
over here. Name, address, and,
Moving down, baby. 826 Munn Street, Munhall.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. My main concern is the Hungarian Club. I guess that's the name of it, the Hungarian Club, North Shore on 8th Avenue. My concern is we've had previous clubs there before for the last 10 years, different sorts of clubs down there. And my issue is, how come this kind of club is allowed to open up down there, and that's the Hours Club like that, with all the other issues we've had before down there? You know, with the fightings, the shootings, and we've always had issues here for like the last 10 years or more with that particular area, that building. And also, I hear that there's also the guards down there are armed security guards down there. You know, that's about that. And also, I'm worried about there's a lot of, the people are very loud down there. There's always a police down there for some reason whatsoever. And they go parking or, well, we'll all block our driveways. We put cones everywhere in the street so nobody backs up or does whatever. They back up in the yard, ruin our yard, we've had it fixed. Just all kind of issues constantly. You might have 1 or 2 weekends good, then all of a sudden it's just crazy again. Last weekend we had an incident down there too. In the middle of the night. This is usually about 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere around that. Sometimes it could be later than that. And I do pay, you know, I pay my taxes the same as like them down there. And I don't infringe on their property, and I don't want nobody infringing on my property either.
okay, Bill, you want to answer the first one?
Yeah, the reason why they're able to open is because it's under new ownership. I'm sure they had applied
Answer no,
with LCV, so
Okay.
it's a new ownership, so that's why.
Now, is it the Hungarian Club, the name of this place? Is that the name of it? I mean, that's what's on the outside
Yeah,
of
it's
the
a
building.
Hungarian Association.
So in any time we do call the police or whatever, we can say the Hungarian
Yes,
Club.
that's correct.
You know, so it is the Hungarian Club.
Pat, would you like to answer about the guys with?
Yeah, our guys are down there as often as they can be on purpose. They're not down there just to deal with complaints, they're there to alleviate complaints. We've towed probably north of 100 cars out of your neighborhood and out of parking lots down there that they're not permitted to park in. We ticketed people, we arrested people. We're going to continue to do that. We had a homicide down there that was related to that bar a few weeks back. The nuisance bar task force run by the DA's office has been notified and are investigating and in contact with the ownership of the club.
Okay, that's all for me. And everybody else has just a little bit of everything else that's, other incidents are going on down there with other people's properties.
Right,
Eddie Keller.
that's me.
Hi. It's basically the same thing that she just said too, you know, about the noise, the traffic, dead end street, and just disrespecting your property. And not only that, that there's tons of traffic on our street and they're throwing their trash in our yards. And not only that, they're urinating outside. And the sad part for me is my grandkids don't even sleep over my house no more because of all the incidents that's going on. So, that's about it.
Hey, Pat, can the county make that?
Yeah, you have a
down
question.
As far as the nuisance club?
Stop, I can't hear. What?
Can the county do anything as far as a nuisance club?
I've already spoke to, her name's Frank Walker, she works for the DA's office. She's in charge of the nuisance park task force. She's the one who helped us post on the Dolls Bar on Londere Street a year and a half ago. She's very good at what she does. She is already investigating as well. I can't pretend to tell you how she goes about that, but I know her, I've known her for 20 years, and she's very good at what she does, and she's already on it. I will say this, I spoke to Greg last week about making your street and the neighboring streets down there resident parking only. Turns out Greg found out that is actually still on the books from however many years ago. So all we would have to do is get council to agree to pay for or buy signs and buy permits that we hand out to the residents, and we can eliminate all the other traffic, all the other parking complaints anyway. Traffic. So I just brought this up to Mr. Ingles and the mayor in the last couple of days. I talked to Greg about it last week. Becky and I spoke about it last week. So that's something that we're going to ask council to do.
Are they parking on both sides of the streets?
Yes, at times.
Well, we have pictures.
If you're familiar with the streets,
We're
it's
gonna pass
generally
them
around. I believe you.
impossible to navigate when there's cars parked on any side.
Right, that's a small road, isn't
Right.
it? I mean, if we put a sign there, like just parking on one side of the street.
Well, I think we need to have more than just one sign. They're
We
saying.
don't want them parking at all.
And that's what
I
we're
understand
saying.
that.
We-
But I mean, Pat's talking about permit parking too, then.
Okay.
There'll be other
Resident
people,
parking only.
right, there'll be other residents on West, didn't you have these?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, my suggestion is let's handle the problem at hand.
Okay.
Worry about the other ones later.
Would that be acceptable for you guys as a
They would
solution?
have to enforce it. There's no parking signs now that says no parking tow-away zones. I've called police. They say we can't enforce and tow this vehicle because we don't know who put these signs up. They think we may have put these signs up. They
No,
And-
they were instructed, the borough installed those signs. That went on an email to every officer in this department.
But here's the
I
thing
have
too.
pictures of police, I called police to have vehicles removed for blocking. We have full-size vehicles, we have a boat. We can't exit our driveways if we wanted to at 3 in the morning because vehicles park up and down the road. I've called the police, I said, I have a picture, there's a sign, there's a car, it's blocking her driveway, she couldn't exit. He said, sir, we can't really just go in there and tow that vehicle.
Was it directly blocking her driveway, or was it across the street, making it difficult swinging her out?
It would be like threading a needle to get out.
But I mean, was it parked across from it is what I'm asking?
Directly across, correct. Now, I've had vehicles, well, I'm gonna speak this, I've had vehicles blocking my driveway head on, and the police says, well, we don't know whose car it is, we're not gonna go tow them. So they'll go down and ask patrons of the.
What officer was that?
I don't have names.
It's
I've
the
called.
same two
I've-
officers that worked Friday night and Saturday. One has a beard, and I think the other one might be Shipley.
I've called dozens of times.
And they both say there's nothing we could do, go to a borough meeting.
That's
So here we are.
Good. Glad
That'll
to
be
hear.
rectified the next.
Well, we're gonna work on behalf of the meetings, but
Mayor, you had a question, sir?
My question was parking. Has the parking issue been gotten, because the chief and I were down there, we met with everyone, and
Right.
I have not heard any calls or complaints, so
Well,
I'm thinking that there's not an issue.
That's what
we
we're
took it upon ourselves to line the street with cones.
Because we
We took our own money
Yeah.
to put cones the whole length of the street.
So we only put one sign up, chief?
No, they're all down at the bottom by the bar.
So they're not.
We
up
want
top.
them up our way.
Okay.
We've discussed. I'm speaking, so I'll save my speech. It's about 4 minutes long, just so you're aware. But I'll save everything in it.
Okay, well, my question was about the parking. Has it gotten, and obviously it's not gotten any better.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay, so then we need to take the next step, whichever we decide to do. That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, but like, my concern is too, like, what's going on outside, or, you know, like I said, they're urinating outside. I mean, it's terrible what's going
Wasn't there
on.
something else somebody did too?
Besides taking the crap outside.
Let's cover it
Isn't
up.
that nice?
It's just-
Wonderful.
No, you wouldn't like that up on Main Street.
Yeah.
We don't lay on any of
No.
it. We're with you, we're not against you.
Okay.
Is there one night that seems worse than the others?
Saturday.
Saturday night?
But they're still there Friday nights too.
Friday, Saturday.
Friday,
Sundays.
usually Friday and Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
So my
Well,
only
they
thought,
close on Sundays now.
my only thought with this is to call in.
We are.
And I'm just, let me talk. And make complaints, because the chief's gonna need complaints to give to the state or the county LCB nuisance squad, or whoever she is, whatever her
I've
name is.
already done that.
Before
Every report we've
Well,
ever,
then, that's all we can do, then we should push her a little bit too, then.
I will talk to her first in the morning.
Thank you.
Steve? Only reason I know is you said you speak next to Steve.
Hi, good evening. We're friends, we'll remain friends after whatever's said, correct, guys?
Absolutely.
No hard feelings.
Ron, punch me out.
I'm the homeowner on Munn Street. I resided in the borough for 34, maybe 36. My whole life. I've been a homeowner for the last 10 years on Munn Street. This bar moved in. Opens at 10, closes around 3:30 in the morning. Main issues is noise. It's car alarms, horns, bass from the radios. And when they come out at 3:30 in the evening, it's they're intoxicated. They had a good time. But it seems like the altercations that arrive in the club.
Can I ask a question before you keep moving
Yes,
forward?
yes,
The
Chief.
bass from the music, is it coming from the club or from the cars?
If you lay in my house on the couch, you could hear it resonate coming
From
from
the
the
club.
building itself. Now, Pat lives a lot closer. I'm sure her walls may be vital.
And you're right to the right, we've met in your driveway.
Exactly. Now, like I said, this is 3:30 in the morning. And there's days I have to wake up and report to Greensburg for work at 3 in the morning. There's one nights I don't get no sleep, I don't get no rest. Now, this is just a nuisance. Like I said, the noise, the screaming, the fighting, parking issues. I mean, they were covered. The lot, this is a nice lot. Their lot maybe holds 20 cars if you park them, mirror to mirror, bumper to bumper. I hear occupancy is 100 to 200 people.
247, I was told.
20-car parking lot, what do you got, 50 persons in a car, that's extreme. So these people have to find parking somewhere else. Okay, if they can't get in that lot, they flood the area. This isn't Munn Street, this is Ravine Street, Hall Street, Creek Street.
8th Avenue.
No, Munn Street, we're the only ones here right now complaining because I think we're so close to this, to the establishment. But as I look through the neighborhood, there's been fences put up.
Right.
There's been no parking signs that sells pizza. Now I can see the cells locked from I have security camera. I can see the cells locked from, I got a camera on the roof. They park all in the cells locked. I'm sure they don't appreciate that either.
No,
That's trespass.
I was told that hasn't really been happening, because they took a ton of cars out of there.
Well, it has.
I talked to the tow operator this afternoon, that's what he told me, they really having that problem.
I believe it was.
They were parking somewhere else.
I believe her, but Chief, I'm there day and night. I see what goes on. They may go down and enforce, the owners of that club or street may go down and enforce it, and they say, you can't park here. But, they're gonna keep telling them and telling them again, if that customer's coming in and spending $100 a night, know, just make it park there, maybe we'll get away with it, maybe we'll get towed, I don't know. So the parking issue, then there's trespassing. Our driveways, our yards, our property. It's a dead-end street. Munn Street's a dead-end street if you're not aware of it. So I don't know what goes on. I don't know if a bar closes somewhere in the area at 2 a.m. or 1 to 8, but it seems like a majority of the customers come from 2 in the morning.
They have a club license, they're allowed to stay open later. Right?
So it's like, just a raft of clientele comes, and it's a dead-end street. They come up to the top. If 3 cars come and there's already cars parked, nobody can turn around. So they're forced to back up and all the way down the street. And it's like a snake. It's not easy to do. And if you're intoxicated, it's dark, you can't drive, you can't back up to them, there's going to be incidents. So I put blocks in my driveway, cement blocks, cones, to keep people out, because eventually somebody's going to bump into my fence, into my wall, into my car, and they're just going to keep on going. I'll be sleeping, I won't know about it, so the damage will be on me. But with that said, even with that protection out our driveways and our yards, it still gets run over, it gets moved. The customers don't care. There's a cone there, we're going to run them cones over and park here so we can get down and party. I was young once too. My party was down the south side or strip district, not in Munhall. Munhall's not a business district to be partying, I don't think. Other issues besides, Chief, there was a car towed from my neighbor's driveway. They come up, they park right in the driveway.
That's gutsy.
Right? They blocked all 3 of their cars and they couldn't exit. They have handicapped, they have children.
It's not just that.
So they called the tow truck and they come and they tow the car. Then, 3:30 in the morning, the owner of that vehicle come up screaming, where's my car? And you hear this all through your windows and your walls because, they may be intoxicated. They're irate. And this has been Fridays have died down, I think, since like graduation. As de-escalated a little bit, all the partying from seniors and whatever they graduate from. But Saturday is just, it's unbelievable. There's no sleep until 4 in the morning because you're worried, you're concerned, and we're frustrated. And the last thing is public urination. I have multiple pictures. People pulling up in front of my house, pulling out there or whatever, and urinating on the street. It's disgusting. It's disrespectful. I ask this council, please address this situation and take action so we can have peace back on Munn Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have pictures. They're exposed people if they would like to see. Pass them around?
Yeah.
This is pictures from my surveillance, from my driveway down the street.
Maybe one of these people can say, you know what?
Yeah, I
pass around the corner and get pictures of the councilman.
Now, a lot of this was addressed, but I'm just going to go through it because I wrote it, and I'm just going to read everything I wrote down. Hi, my name is Renee. Thank you for taking the time to have us here tonight. I have been a resident on Munn Street for 35 years. There have been numerous bars, businesses where the Hungarian Club is now, but this by far is the worst. The patrons going into this bar have no respect or consideration for the residents that live on Munn Street and Ravine Street. Most of us resulted in blocking our driveways off, lining our property with bricks, or getting no parking signs. This bar is out of hand. They have what seems like more people going in than exceeds their capacity. Munn Street is a dead end, with parking on one side of the road and the other for driving up and down. So many people come up, sometimes 4 at a time, and get stuck, forcing them to back down the hill, which results in them turning around in our driveways, which we have walk since, or hitting our vehicles that are parked on the street, like my vehicle, for example. I've been hit and run once. I was hit a couple weeks ago. We were able to stop them. The people in the car got very irate with us. The cops came. I filed a police report for the hit and run. They did not want to work with us. They kept saying they didn't hit our vehicle. We were sitting on our porch. We witnessed it. Okay?
That's at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ah.
Yes, this was at 3 o'clock in the morning. 3:30.
Excuse me.
All right, let me see here. We confronted the people. Every Friday and Saturday night, we line the street with cones and block our driveways to protect our vehicles and our property. Thank God, since we were away Memorial Day weekend, and here's a video on my phone, we put cones in front. So I have handicap parking for my daughter. In front of it, there's a fire hydrant, but there's enough room for another car to park. I put a cone there. A drunk driver came up the hill, hit that cone, and almost hit my vehicle head on. We weren't home. That would have been the third time I would have got stuck paying for my damages for my vehicle. We met with the chief of police and Mayor Brennan back in early April and discussed what we thought was a good plan, not only to come to fruition. They discussed the plan was to get residential permit parking signs all the way up the hill to our house, which is 887 at the top of the hill, and also signs for the one-way. Since Munhall Police said they cannot enforce the one-way since it does not say do not enter. Which is bogus because my husband and I got pulled over exiting that one-way a few years ago. The chief and mayor, instead we get what Chief and Mayor Brennan said were only going to be temporary no parking tow-away signs, which were great at first because the police did enforce and they did actually come up and they were towing people. Now, when we call and we do talk to the police officers, they tell us they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt and they're going to go in the bar with their plate number and just come out and have a move instead of enforcing these signs that the Munhall Borough put up. And just last month, I called and spoke to Chief Campbell. You said that you were going to bring up, it was Tuesday, you said Wednesday was your workshop, you were going to bring up about these permanent parking signs. I watched it on YouTube, nothing was brought up in that meeting. Then you said the next Wednesday was the council meeting, and you would discuss it there as well. I don't know if that was discussed, I
There was
can't
only
answer that.
one meeting last week. No, there was 2 months left, right?
But I never got an update, and we still don't have our signs. These poor patrons park so close to this lady's house on the corner coming down the hill. They're this far from her house, okay, this far. They're on her property. She has ruts in her yard from these cars parking there. The business next to the Hungarian Club, they had to install a fence because the bar employees and patrons were abusing his property and littering. We also noticed that in several different areas that the bar patrons are littering throughout the street. This bar is open until 3:30 a.m. The cars come up the street, wake us up with their radio so loud it's unreal. Just this past weekend, they had the street blocked by parking down around the bend on each side. There was a car here by the fence and a car here on the lady's house. This is the road, okay? There was an officer out there dealing with a drunk individual who was just in his car, not doing anything for like 45 minutes. The call came through, and he said, there's nobody legally parked up here, I'm up here. I mean, I don't know what he saw. There's a picture in there somewhere of the cars. But I can tell you that the regular residents on that street were having trouble coming up that night. If there was an emergency, we have numerous handicapped people, my daughter included, and I live past that bend. If there was an emergency and an ambulance needed to get up, they weren't getting up. They were not. And then back in March, I spoke to the Liquor Control Board officer, and it was my understanding that if you seem intoxicated, you shouldn't be served any more alcohol. These patrons are coming out of this Hungarian Club beyond drunk, that they are urinating, throwing up, and now pooping. They're pooping on the properties in our area. Nobody's coming up to clean it up. The borough, the public works, nobody's coming up to clean it up. They puked outside my steps. The guy was so drunk he couldn't even get out of his car. That was probably about 2 months ago they puked. They're so loud, they carry on in the streets, which eventually leads to fighting, which happened about a month ago. The cops showed up, and they said, oh, there's just a bunch of people acting drunk and stupid. They let all those cars go. That officer said they were drunk. They let them get in those cars and drive away.
Every vehicle.
Every vehicle, we watched it. The cops let them all drive away. There was already a shooting about 2 months ago. We were told by police the only way they will get shut down is if there's a shooting. Well, that didn't happen. They're still open. From what we were told, these bar owners also own Eon in the old High Roller building. And once those bars close, they mosey on down to the Hungarian Club. Well, they're already drunk because they've already been to 2 different bars. Okay? So, the last thing I have to say is, we don't mind if there's a business there. Okay? There could be a business there. We want a peaceful business. We have all lived on this street for more than 20-plus years. We are tired of these bars. Every single time a bar opens up, there's trouble. I don't care if it's a new owner. They're all related somehow, and they all find a way to open these bars. And I don't know why Munhall would let a bar, a club, not a bar, a club, a nightclub,
You're right.
stay open until 3:30 in the morning. I don't care what kind of license you have. These bartenders,
I think we should try to revoke the club license. Can we do that?
I mean, that would be
Can't revoke
amazing.
the club license.
Get rid of it.
Even with the shooting and
The
everything else we have?
LCB, working with the DA's office, handles that. We have no authority to revoke their license.
The club
Something
license.
needs
That's
done.
issued by the state, the LCB, they regulate that, we don't have any
We have
authority.
those
They need to
regulations.
get to the
So what
LCD
about the shooting?
real fast. It's a real
Okay.
Well, no, it's not
The shooting.
okay, it's
Yeah.
a crime, it's under
Yeah, but I think
investigation.
He
they
said in
wait
the
for
drive, he
more
stood
and
in the drive with these people here, and he said if there was any shootings down there, we will jump on this in a second.
Get it
We've been
shut
on
down.
it. There's, like I said.
But you told me
we-
you can't have something done. You said you have the power to do it.
No, what I
Yeah.
told you is I work with different,
You should not have
Different
those
people.
shootings.
I don't have control over that. I cannot revoke their license. I can't shut their club down. I can work with a person I told you before from the DA's office who has the connections to get that done.
Then we should
And
get it done.
that's what I'm doing.
All right, we wanna do-
I mean, I hope this is done sooner rather than later, because I can
This has been
assure
done already.
you, if
I
this
can't
bar
control their timeframe.
was on your street, at the end of your street, you would not like this riprap that we have to deal
I
with.
don't like it on any street in our town.
Well,
So,
it needs, so what can we do to get it shut down?
can I talk for a second?
Yeah.
Because I have a couple thoughts, and maybe we can all think about this for a minute together. Can we force the club to pay for police officers to police the area?
That would be up to you.
I want a thumb. Can we infringe our police officers to work, and they pay them to work?
Well, I'm not aware of any ordinance that we have, any law in place.
There's an ordinance, if it's a gathering of more than 200, I believe we have an ordinance on the books for police
Well, if we
control.
have an ordinance in place, then we can enforce it. I'm not aware of what it is, I'd have to look it up.
So that's my first thought, if we can do something on that, on that aspect. And then, I'm gonna look at the powers of the mayor and see what the mayor can do. If we can call this a emergency down there, or a problem, maybe we can enact auxiliary police down there, but we need to get more police officers down there.
But here's the
We need
thing.
to have them pay for it, not the borough pay for it. We need to have the bar owner pay for officers to be down there. if it
They'll
can
be
done.
inside the club, though. They're not gonna
Yeah.
be patrolling their street.
I'm talking about the whole general area right there. That whole area right there.
We can't force them to pay for something that's not in their building.
Why can't we put up DUI checkpoints somewhere down there on
I
the
mean,
avenue?
these people are
And start
drunk.
busting them and they won't come.
I mean, the officer said it himself.
That's a good idea too.
There's
DUI
drunk and
checkpoints, we can do
acting
that.
stupid, and he let every one of them get in that car. You know, this
That was
is
over the
going,
scanner.
this
It was
is
a
going
scanner.
off the beaten path, but about 4 years ago, my vehicle was hit up on the street. They were both drunk. The kid admitted to the cop, we are both drunk, we just want to go home. He let them get in that car after just hitting my vehicle, both of my vehicles. He let them get in the car and leave. What is wrong with these Munhall police?
I find that very hard to believe.
Well, it's true.
I'm a witness.
Listen,
It's
I will
true.
speak to everyone that's on that turn, and if that's the case, there's gonna be a lot of shit to pay for. I can tell you that right
Well,
now.
I'm a witness. I have 2 scanners, both in my house. My daughter's heard it. Up at 3 o'clock in the morning. She wasn't up then, but both my wife and I heard over the scanner. The issue down at the bar is there are a bunch of people acting drunk and stupid. That came over the scanner. Every cop, well, I don't know if that's true or not, but every cop in the borough heard it.
Man,
They all went home.
Get in, they
If
let
they're all
people get in.
drunk and they're all acting stupid, if that was me, I'd be getting a DUI. As soon as I put my key in my ignition.
Excuse me, may I comment? Rick, on the point you said, to get enforcement down there to maybe control or observe, What other bar in the borough of Munhall
Has to have that.
do you have to send patrols and security out to?
Boom.
Armed.
Not now, we had an issue down here, right on Glendale Street, and that was resolved. But this issue seems to be worse.
It's always worse. Every single bar this borough lets open.
I think it's more numbers down there. There are more people down this place. I mean,
There's a lot.
than the other places.
Excuse me, Rick,
Don't
Mike,
have an occupancy number?
to go ahead and say that we have to send patrols down to maybe maintain what's going on, to me, that sounds like
Code enforcement.
we're waiting for something extreme to happen again, so we're there.
Well, I'm trying to
Yeah, we're
dissolve
trying
the
to
issue.
prevent it from occurring.
But why
Right.
should you have to stoop that low to get police officers and arms? Doesn't that tell you something about the business and the customers they're bringing in?
Man, listen, I understand that completely. The problem is, like, you lived there for how long?
My whole life.
So you remember when Rebels was there?
Rebels was not an issue.
I know, that's what I'm telling you. Because that was neighborhood people who lived on your street, lived on Ravine Street, who walked there, whatever. They knew the area. We run plates down there, there was very seldom a plate that comes from Munhall Homestead or West Homestead. This club is drawing people from all over
Okay,
Allegheny
no, we
County
hear it. The
who
police
are
are awesome.
unfamiliar with the area.
Westfield,
They try to go up your
yeah.
street, they can't get out, they don't know where they're going. Like you said, they're blocking stuff, they're causing accidents, they're hitting your property. Me sober in a police car, I'd have a hard time backing down that street without hitting something.
If you're leaving that place at 3:30 in the morning,
You're drunk.
you drunk.
Right.
Why ain't these people being stopped? Why are they blocking 8th Avenue to what,
Yeah, they actually blocked
Right
it down.
there.
Oh my God, a tractor
You should get a lot of
trailer almost
money.
crashed into a ton of, he had to put his Jake brake on.
Yeah,
These
the lock and
people
brakes on.
stop and back up in 8th Avenue. There's going to
Making
be a
U-turns.
major deadly
they're
accident.
valet parking on 8th Avenue.
Yeah.
They're stopping traffic.
Yes. And you
How
know,
much are they getting away with? They're getting away with whatever they want to do.
Chief, are you familiar with Ravine Street? When you go out onto Ravine Street?
Yes.
Okay, there's the old Nathan builder, there's a house
Yes.
right here, okay? Somebody pulled in her yard. The cop got his plate number, walked all the way over to the bar, came back out with the patron and let him move. This car was in a yard that wasn't even anywhere near the bar.
Yeah, but this is what we're talking about. This is the situation that we have to deal with when we call 911.
It is bad.
When we call 911, the majority of the calls that we make, we're told there's nothing we can do about it, you gotta go to a permit.
And you know, half the time for a while there, the cops weren't even coming. It was 20 minutes later, we never even seen a cop.
No, what they would do is they would go down to the bar.
Could we put, we can do anything, I understand what you're gonna tell me. But I don't know how many guys do on night turn, but could we get a guy to just Friday, Saturday nights? That's his job, to sit right down there and don't let nobody park.
I say give out DUIs.
That's
Yeah.
There ain't nobody parking in Brentwood.
pretty sad when you gotta put a
That's
cop
what I'm
on.
saying, that's what I'm
I
trying
don't mean guys walk around, have them sit in the car and that's it.
Lock the street off, don't leave my residents on.
James.
My vehicle has been, I had to pay
You gotta
for
try
it.
something once. You know? I would like to have a police officer down there.
I would be game for that, but I would still like the signs.
And we're gonna do the signs. And we're gonna do it resident parking. And we're gonna put police officers down there to make sure that first and foremost, we're gonna start in your area right there. But I certainly like the idea of DUIs as well, and start putting some police effort down there. And we can work with our neighbors as well. Does Whitaker have night turn guys yet or not?
Is this gonna start Friday, this Friday
I'm
and
gonna talk to
Saturday?
the chief, and are we gonna start this Friday? We are.
I hope so, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I do believe that the state police
Right.
Yes, the state police.
we should notify them as well. that they're an
Idle fact. If they're having valet parking, it cuts off at a certain point. And the cops are going by and they're not seeing this. How could they don't own 8th Avenue. They should not be allowed to do this.
The problem with all the state controls they have, it's a state road. If they noticed that we're not allowed to post no parking on schedule. I 100% agree.
Mayor, you're gonna give take some off a certain shift, but you only have 2 on 3.
We're gonna get people to close there on Friday night and Saturday, especially Saturday. But both times.
All right, so moving on up.
For one thing, it should have never been outside. That part should have never been done.
Maureen Rod.
Upstairs.
Like I said,
No, it should have never, these guys should have stopped.
we
You
can't
knew
stop,
there,
Whose pictures?
you knew there was a
we
problem.
can't stop a new business from going into.
You knew there was
And
gonna be
it's
problems.
considered, I know that, but LCB issued them the
Yeah, you
license.
can't stop it.
We can't stop. LCB is state.
We can,
They will tell
should be
you.
writing DUI.
You can't stop it.
We can't stop a new.
You can't stop it, but you can do the DI.
Mayor Brennan told us that he didn't even know you opened the bar. He wasn't even aware that the bar was open when the bar was open. So, was that an overnight deal or what? We don't know.
No, sir. I don't inform anybody of any businesses of brand new businesses. I have not done it in 15 years.
so, we're moving forward. Please call my office if there's any issues as well.
What is your number?
I can give you my cell phone number later, but I have an app that goes right to my cell phone, right to my office number in the borough, and I return every phone call that's ever called to me.
Okay.
It may not be that day, but I will call you back.
Maureen.
Hi, everyone. Most of you know I'm Randy Fry. I'm here to talk. First issue I wanted is I'm going to ask Mr. Ingalls. Last Wednesday, there was that sewer authority meeting at Carnegie Library at 6:30, okay? I understood it was to be an informational meeting, not to sell the sewer.
Right.
After 2 hours of discussion, Mr. Ball did his presentation, and he started by saying that in 2016, the Pennsylvania Water Authority offered $16 million, but by October 2020, we're up to 19.5, and maybe we should take that. And then, I wasn't at the meeting, I know that, many of you know that, however, I watched the video twice, and I will tell you all, I took notes as usual. Be it Jackie Coles, Dan Lloyd, Dave Junkins, Joe Ballas, Rick Brennan, there were people I didn't know. They must have asked the question 50 times. Why are we selling this asset? Why are we selling? Our Citizens Board, which Matt Bovey, Jackie Coles, there are other people on it. They're doing a great job. Why are we even selling it? Why are we talking about this? The question is, do we need money? And that question was asked, Mr. Ingalls, I'm sure you remember. Well, Mr. Youngkins questioned why was the borough manager and council even considering selling an asset. Mr. Brohol said, Dave, we're here to discuss the issue. We're not here to sell the authority. That was Wednesday. I wasn't here. Friday night late, I got home. So less than 2 days. Saturday morning, I did go on, and thank you, Becky, for having posted the agenda. The very first thing on tonight's agenda, this was 48 hours, guys, because she doesn't work on the weekends, is to make a motion to negotiate the Pennsylvania American Water for the sale of the sanitary sewer assets. Mr. Ingalls, I'm going to be very serious with you. If you heard that many residents, okay, asking the question of why are you even doing this? These people are doing a great job. They are making significant strides. They are a non-profit. We sell this to a profit company. Anybody in this room, I don't care how young you are, even that little girl probably knows, A company makes money. They don't care how they make the money, they want to make a profit. So be it they gave us 16 million, 19 million, or in 5 years, 30 million. They know they got something, and they're going to charge that score. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Ingles, how could something, I thought for sure you would have thought to say, we need to have more discussion on this issue. We need more public, we need more input, we need Pennsylvania Water representatives there to answer questions. But I'll be darned if I have any idea why. When it's not even, you kept on saying, it's not for sale. So my question is, for number one, please explain to me why the first motion is about selling and not discussing the whole entire issue, not making more information available beside the $19.5 million. Do we need money that bad?
Well, I'm not saying we need money that bad, but in the windfall of later down the road, you might need money.
We might have $1 million donation, or a few million. Somebody might hit the lottery and say, I want to give it to you. I'm just saying, chances are the same. You don't know what the future holds. My feeling is, if you have a budget, and I never get these figures straight, but let's just pretend. If your budget is $5 million for the year, you work within that budget. You do not spend $7 million and hope that somebody gets to the casino to make up $2 million more to give, to cover what you spent. If you don't have the money, you shouldn't be spending the money. We keep taking out loans, paying interest, paying back interest. This is robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't understand this, and there are many people in this room who don't understand it.
I would like to answer that if you want. And Dan, I don't mean to pick on you, but could you, so it doesn't come from me, you're a president council, you're aware of how this all works. Could you answer this question? Why is something put on the agenda? Why is something put on the agenda? Could you explain to Mrs. Fry why something's put on the agenda? Is something put on, my question is, and not to blindside you, something put on the agenda just to pass, or something put on the agenda to make a decision, to see how council, and you could use this because you're going to be on council someday, you probably could use this, you put things on the agenda to decide, to let people counsel and see what their decisions are and decide. There's something on the agenda could be on this agenda, and it could very easily say 7 people vote no. 7 people can vote no. Okay, it was on the agenda. It gets in the
could vote yes, and guess what?
That's their priority. That's why we elect them, to make the decisions for the borough.
Can I answer? You asked me.
Yeah, I did. Is it just passed?
Just the way that you did this last Wednesday night, you led everybody to believe that this was not something that was imminent. Nothing's going to happen. We're just having an open discussion about the fact that the water company would pay us $16 million.
I said it.
Oh, no. One at a time. One at a time.
Don't have to be aggressive, buddy.
Oh, yeah, really.
So, you know, I think you were more than disingenuous in saying that we're just discussing this. You put it on the agenda, like she said, less than 48 hours after you said, well, you know, we're just talking about this. And frankly, this council right now is a lame duck council.
Right.
And I don't think they should be moving forward with this exploration of selling the authority unless there's a necessity for it.
Get it on the agenda, vote no, and move forward. In 5 years, it's on the agenda and it's in the minutes, because if it's not in the minutes,
and at the same time,
hey Joe, I guarantee you, these residents of Munhall right here don't know nothing about it, because she just asked me, because you guys didn't put it out enough. There's not enough conversation, man.
And when I was president,
we're going to answer your other questions.
People don't read the Valley Mirror.
We didn't put it on our website.
The Valley Mirror ain't even sold down there where we live.
Okay.
David, that night, you're
when I was president of the council, Joe, I made the agenda,
okay.
not the
That Wednesday night showed me 10,972 shares.
I wouldn't have known about it unless Rick and them told me about it.
But it's on the website.
but it's on the website, but that's how you get
I
around
didn't
it.
have your number to call you, Dave.
Oh, you didn't have it? I
Give
was-
me a number, I'll call you
Yeah.
next time. You call me too if you have questions.
Yeah, I would call
But
you.
just so you know, the people
Last
know
thing in
here,
the world.
what happened is, and I'll go through my presentation what I did on Wednesday, if you don't mind.
What's that?
If you don't know, just tell what's going on. President Eagles and I sat in a meeting, a luncheon, Christmas luncheon with Pennsylvania American Water. As we all know, if you sit with somebody you don't know, we sat with the Vice President of Engineering. We sat with him, and we can make small talk, right? Where you're from, how long you've been there, this, that, and the other thing. We're sitting there, and I asked the Vice President of Engineering, I said, hey, I heard a lot about American Water getting into sewage. And when I first started in 2016, I haven't heard it recently. He said, why, are you interested? I said, I don't know enough to be able to say if we are or not. He said, how many ratepayers you have? I said, about 4,000. He said, how would you like a check for $16 million? I don't know. I don't know what something's worth, right? You gotta find out what it's worth. So I come back here and I talk to Jackie Coles, I talked to Mayor Brennan, I talked to some other board members, some other council members. The first thing out of everyone's mouth was, they'll never pay $16 million. Okay, I don't know that. So the pandemic hits, I'll talk and you can. So you go through this process and then the pandemic hits and we do nothing. We find out that Brentwood Borough sold their, you could call them assets, your store assets. But as far as I know, an asset is something that gives back to the community, or it could be an expense. So you can just as easy to call our 100-year-old pipes our sewer liability. But still, to that point, it doesn't matter. We don't know what this is even worth. So, in 2020, December 16th, I gave a report to council. And I told them in my council, I talked a little bit about the budget, I talked about our revenues, where our taxes are, like our assessments. Our assessments, we get 50% of what our houses are worth. And I'm going to read this to you all. Decisions need to be made to combat the stagnant pace of revenues versus the increasing rates of expenditure. I said that. I put this in their report that they all got in their packets. And I wrote A, B, and C, some options. And I don't know if there's a D and E, but this is what you do things. Raise revenues through tax increase. And my answer next to that said, that's an easy answer, but are there other ways? And what we all agreed, to raise taxes. We cannot just sit here for the last 12 years and don't raise taxes when everything else is going up. Why we able to do the same thing in 2019, and that's the last audit year, that's why I use 19 and not 20, versus 2014. We paid a hell of a lot more, salaries go up, everything goes up. Okay, so we can't just keep doing the same thing we did. So, do we want to so another way, instead of just raising taxes, well, you do it on, you cut your cost down, right? Do we want to decrease expenditures? Again, that's an easy answer, but at what cost? If we farm our garbage out, or we go to part-time police, what kind of impact does that have on all of us in this community? Is that something that we want to go to decrease the expenditure? And then C was sell the assets. Again, my answer next to that was at what cost? So none of this was something that we were doing. This is my report that I owe it to council to do this. We get caught up in rates. But were rates cheaper, less expensive? Pennsylvania American Water rates last year less expensive than ours? Yes. And 3 out of 7 years they were. So we can't get caught in rates because we can't guarantee they'll always be good. So an option was to avoid raising taxes, which is going to happen. Because there's no way we can continue doing what we're doing at the same amount of money. A gallon of milk's a lot more than it was, right? You need a raise in your thing. The borough's in the same position. These are things that I put on the table for council to think about what we're going to do in the future. Council hands down, said, we don't want to do anything because of the pandemic. We don't want to do this to our residents of Munhall. Okay, let's move forward. So I just want to read one other thing. We could get into I put a program together that I suggested to council now what we can do. What would we do if we did get the money? Well, we could put $3 million maybe into roads, fix our streets. How many streets need paved around here? Maybe we could do that. And I also showed them in the program that I suggested that just ideas that you might be able to do. I said, what if we put $10 million of this money away and give back to every one of you? Dan, how many buildings do you have?
A lot.
Dave? Multiple, right? You have 5 buildings. We're worried about our rates going up $30, but your taxes could go up a lot more than that, right?
But Joe,
what?
When I walked by you at the library, when I was leaving, you were talking, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were standing there talking and I walked by.
Right.
I heard you say, I can afford to pay it if they raise our rates.
Correct.
I'm not gonna have to deal with it next year.
Right, because you said the first thing you're doing when you
No,
get
I
to
said if it
council-
was my vote that made it a choice, that I would vote you out.
Right. So
I didn't say everybody was gonna vote you out, I said I was gonna vote you
Police
out.
officer told me so.
Well, that's why I told that police officer.
The bottom line is this.
That this should all be discussed at finance meetings, and finance meetings haven't been taking place publicly for a year.
That's what email's for too. Anybody can have an input in email. If you don't know how to use it, learn it. So anyways.
Wow, really?
I'll stop.
Really?
We have a pandemic going on here.
An email, if you don't know how to use it, learn it.
Okay, so I want to read this. Excuse me, I like to read this items for consideration. Motion to authorize the solicitor and manager to explore the process of finding value of Munhall sewer assets. It was a roll call vote. Vice President voted D in motion. Councilman Stein seconded. Roll call vote. Councilman Falls, yes. Councilman Fallon, yes. Councilman Ondo, yes. Councilman Petruzzi, yes. Councilman Stein, yes. Vice President voted D in, yes. President Ingles, yes. So every single person that you guys voted for to be on council voted to move forward to find the value. You remember? Because no one thought it was worth 16 million. Now, we have on the agenda tonight. And the agenda states, motion to negotiate with the Pennsylvania American Water for the sale of sanitary sewer systems.
Negotiation means you're selling it.
Negotiations mean they gave us a ballpark figure. That ballpark figure is out there. The ballpark figure is out there. We don't have a solid number, right? We don't have the exact number. It might be 22, it might be 23, it might be 15.
You also said here tonight that we don't need the money.
No, I did not ever say we don't need the money.
Right, but you said it's worth 19.5 right now. We should take it and put it in the stuff.
You're not allowed to do that by law, Dave, so I didn't say.
No, why don't we leave it alone and then 10 to 20 years down the road, they might offer us 50 million.
Yes, you're right. And
So it's still an asset you have. You sell all your assets, you end up with nothing.
So now, we gotta put a lot of money into the system.
Well,
Now
they're
we can
already
put
doing
more.
that.
Did we? How much did we put in this year?
But they're saying it's not costing them anything. They're covering it. It's budgeted.
We put millions of dollars into the system already.
Oh, okay.
That's why PA Water wants to take it, because it's already been maintenance. Don't you remember they just lined all the sewers?
Yeah, hey Dave, who have you talked to outside of this room or anybody, any professionals in the business? Or you just talking?
Professionals in my business.
I mean, did you talk to any engineer, anybody in the business, anybody? Did you talk to
No,
anybody?
I talked to people that had it done in their neighborhood and their water rates went through the roof.
Who are you talking about? McKeesport?
Okay.
Braddock,
Braddock?
North
Just get
Braddock.
back to the meeting.
Yeah.
We just get back to the meeting. Mrs. Fry has the floor. Anything else? We did.
I'm just going to say that all of you who were at the meeting at the library on Wednesday, from all the people who were residents. All of them said, including Mrs. Coles, who's with the Sewer Authority, including Mr. Vallis, who's on the Sewer Authority, after watching that video twice, I did not hear one person say, sell it, get the money.
Right, you're right.
And so 48 hours, less than 48 hours later, I honestly, I guess this, once I get on, I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot of things, everybody. I make no bones that I will be the first one to learn. But I'll be darned if I'm going to put on a motion to sell with the idea everybody can say no. It amazes me because 2 of our councilmen are not here tonight. So if you take a vote, we'll see what's happening. But I'm just saying, I would think you would have respected the residents who did speak, the people who did speak, who said, we don't want it sold. I don't think this should have ever, I realize this is my opinion, but I realize it should never have been on to even sell. If you want to sell, I think you need to discuss. Secondly, it is a lame duck council right now, okay? I don't think these kinds of decisions, you can tell me 19.5 million, we need it, we'll put 10 million aside. Well, it seems like every time we get $1 million, it goes into the turkey on the hill over here. I'm just saying. So I'm just dropping it here, but I'm just saying, I can't believe that 48 hours later you have a motion. My second issue, and then Mr. Lambert, I know you give a speech every month, but I just feel that as a resident, I want to know what is happening at 1860 West Street. Could you share that with us? My questions are, please give us an update. What are you and the Franjo company anticipating? When are you expecting everything to be done? And when do you think will be the grand opening? Okay? If you would answer those for us so that everybody might have an idea.
Sure, we'll do.
Love you. Thanks.
Should we do it now or in the report?
I don't know.
You do your report?
I'll do it in my report.
Okay, okay. And Mr. Stein isn't here, so as Mr. Lloyd said, we haven't had finance. If you don't ask, you don't even know what's in the general fund, so I'm assuming, Mr. Ingles, since you're president of council, I would think that you would have an idea. How much money have we spent on the new borough building?
I will discuss all that in my report.
There is nothing listed on the agenda under paying bills to Franjo for this month, so I'd appreciate that. Under motion 3, it says,
Ring, you know, this, you're speaking, now you're gonna go items of consideration.
I'm what?
That's items of
I
consideration.
know, but we need answers before you make motion, before you
Well,
pass
when
it.
you will get that chance, when you're done your
When
speaking.
you're done with your time, then you can ask
And then
to
that
speak
vote
about
talks,
items of
then we will vote
consideration.
consideration.
So he's telling you, don't speak about that now. Speak about and wait later, and you can answer that question as
Before the
well.
motion is
I didn't mean not,
passed.
you can't speak, but that's a truth.
Right, I know what you said.
Love you dearly. Thank you.
Matt vote?
Thank you. Matt Bovee, 2315 Glendale Street. I'm speaking as a ratepayer and resident right now, not in official capacity as a chairperson of the authority. I do think it's a little disingenuous that council could put this, because it was already mentioned on the agenda just a few days later after saying, no, we're not taking official action, we're just discussing it. I also wanted to point out at that other meeting I did ask, I don't know if I got a correct answer or adequate answer, but is a public hearing required in order to sell, even negotiate council?
Should be.
So I'm not sure. It seems like before you enter into negotiations would be a good time to have it.
Well, if you read the minute or the agenda, it says negotiate. We
Right.
don't have.
I understand it's not a public
If you have a public meeting,
Right.
and you say, well, they told us the ballpark figure is this, people are gonna say that ballpark figure is not enough. And I agree with that.
Right.
It's not enough. We need something. We need something more firm. We need to find out. And the way the state makes sure that no municipality, you know, a municipality that needs money bad.
Sure.
They can't just go out there and say, I'll sell to whatever you give me because I need the money.
Right.
There's a process put in place that you need to go through. The
Shouldn't there also
second,
be an RFP process for soliciting bids for even enter into negotiation for the sale of the system? There's not only one buyer in all the country.
that's correct.
Is there a process for that?
We talked,
Because the motion specifically says Pennsylvania Medical Water.
because Aqua America hasn't come to the table. I've been working with
Well, there's more than 2 companies in the country too, I'm sure. Why is there no RFP process in order to establish?
We could
whether-
do that too, but here's another thing. No one wants to do it. So why would you go through?
We don't know, 'cause we haven't
You do the
put our
RFP part, you go through all the work and do all the RFP process if no one wants to do it. It's not about whether the money, it's not the money. We talked about this, right guys? It's not about the money, it's whether we want an outside company to do it or we want to keep it in-house. I'm fine with that. I said that last week, if this is it. But if you want me to read a third time the minutes from the meeting, the council asked me to find out the value, this is the step.
But we did
next
find out
step.
the value. The
Huh?
RFP process is how you find out the
We can
value.
do that.
You get
We want-
responses
we can put
from
that on-
multiple bidders.
We can put that on the agenda next month if you like, but is this what the crowd wants? You want an RFP?
We don't know, that's why
It
a
looks
hearing would
like-
be beneficial.
It
So
looks
I'm
like
not
they
sure the card-
said,
which is
they're
the card
saying
to
now, so
follow.
we're, Dan, right, we're gonna be next week saying we don't wanna do an RFP, what do you put that on the agenda?
Joe, I'm not in charge anymore, ask Artie.
No, I'm just saying, Dave, you answer the question, right? You're gonna say the same thing, I don't wanna
Everybody
do it.
I've talked to that's been in these meetings don't want it done, so why are we even looking at it?
Because,
Because you wanna do
Can we
it.
read the minutes again?
Because you wanna
I
do it.
don't care, I have one house, I don't care.
No, let's start back and forth.
I agree. Speaking of the question of, I've never been on council, but speaking of the question of how it was posed with Mr. Lloyd about how the agenda is constructed, typically, my understanding is that items up for discussion are discussed at other public meetings like work sessions, and then when there's an item for consideration where action is needed, it's added to the agenda. So somehow it kind of skipped that process, and now it's just moved to, I don't know why would we put something on the agenda that we don't know is ready to be passed? It's not time for
That's
consideration.
not your decision.
I know,
That's what we did, that's what we did, and that's what was put on there. And we knew coming in here that the votes weren't there. And we knew that coming in there. You still could get it, if we talk about this 5 years, Matt, you're gonna say, I never knew about that, they never did that.
I would never
It gets in the minutes, it's on there, it was a dead deal. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it works. That's the way it works.
It seems like a backward way to do business, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
It is my opinion. I mean, when we run,
Just move
other
on.
boards I'm on, when we run it, you know, we build consensus beforehand. And then when it's on the agenda, then we know that there's consensus and can move forward. And just consensus, not with the elected people, but, okay. Now, may I just speak, I asked to speak on sewer authority matters. May I speak in my official capacity? I did want to, in case people weren't available with the other meeting, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that we've done, because there has been questioned, well, what's the authority do, what's it for, what is it giving us as ratepayers? So I just have a couple of quick highlights. I do want to point out that over the past approximately 5 years, we've done in excess of $10 million of system upgrades. We've leveraged over $750,000 of grant money to do that, the upgrades and the system monitoring and assessments of the system. We've had, other than the Alcoastan rate increases that we get, we've had one, albeit large, rate increase in the past 5 years, but we've held our cost and budget tight since then. We've also provided on-time and balanced budgets every year. We have a consistent year-end financial surplus. We also have up-to-date and professional audits and accounting. We outsource some of the auditing and accounting controls on a monthly basis, so that even though we only have one full-time and one part-time employee, we do have outside controls. All this documentation is available from the office. We have an active and effective board of directors. In my mind, they're all volunteers. We hold regular and consistent meetings, and we keep minutes of all of those meetings, and all that is available, which I know has not been done in the authority's entire past, but it has been done at the points where I've been on the board, which is over 5 years. We do have one full-time manager and one part-time assistant, and we have regular office hours. I know that that's been a little bit interrupted with the pandemic, but we do try to get back to any inquiries by phone or email as quickly as possible. We've implemented a new website as well. We've organized and streamlined our business practices, policies, and the record management portion of it in an attempt to professionalize the overall operation and our forward face to the public. Professionalism is our main goal with every action that we take, and I do think that we've greatly, vastly increased that professionalism over the past 5 years. We also have a multi-municipal contract with West Mifflin for the one pump station, which is within our system, the operation of that pump station to ensure compliance with DEP. And we've negotiated what I think are very favorable rates with the reciprocal borough. They have the ability to do it. They've given us favorable rates. We've entered into a contract to have them maintain that, and it's far above what it was before. We've implemented a backwater grant program for residents, which covers 95% of the installation costs of a backwater valve in the cases where some areas of the borough that are older, where water or sewage can enter back to the basement. We actually will cover the majority of the cost for that. We are in compliance, finally, with 2 DEP consent orders. We have accomplished system-wide GIS mapping and camera inspections of the whole system, and part of our ongoing operation and maintenance plan has us redoing all of those over a period of 5 years, and we're going to be working in the garden plan towards the end of this year to continue with doing about, like I said, about a fifth of that system inspections every year, so that we can keep it on a 5-year rotating schedule. We also have finally the full implementation of the time of Dale dye test program. That's something that was started way before the borough, the authority was created. The borough had to manage that. We actually have all of the documents digitized, all the past records digitized, and I believe that we're operating responsibly and quickly to, as you know, like there's lots of home sales nowadays, especially in the borough, and we responded as I think within a reasonable amount of time. And we have a full-time monitoring of the overflow structures, actually both permitted and unpermitted overflow structures that exist within the borough that are kind of a legacy thing to our old system. But in doing so, we've been able to come up with strategies to minimize environmental incidents, and those, for the most part, have been diminishing year over year. And that program has been a success, and we've been acknowledged. That has been acknowledged by Alka St. DEP. Moving forward, some key initiatives that we're looking to do in the upcoming years are underway, which includes the Alka St. takeover of multiple municipal lines, such as the one along Westfield Road and the one along Ravine Street. We are awaiting the new DEP consent order. There's going to be all kinds of new compliance issues with that, but we actually feel that our solicitor, our engineers, Jackie, have been in touch with everyone who's been constructing that consent order, and we're kind of a bit ahead of the game because we know what's coming, and we have some of that stuff we've already been working on even before it's been mandated, so we're just trying to stay ahead of it. We've also been implementing new projects to reduce cross connections of sanitary and storm systems, which help, again, reduce not only the I&I to the Alka St. plant, but backups into people's houses, and we work with the borough in order to identify those areas and try to eliminate them. And then we're working on new grants to subsidize additional system improvements, especially ones that reduce I&I. Pump station upgrades, I mentioned that we did some already.
This is like a sewer authority meeting.
I'm sorry, 2 more items, that's it.
I mean, you don't have to have yours this month. You're having it now.
That's true. Yeah, this is 5 years worth, man.
I understand, I can see it. Good thing I didn't put a clock on it.
I think I'm still under my 3 minutes.
I find it very interesting.
I'm under my 3 minutes. You're a plumber.
Please
You're a
finish.
plumber, so that's a little unfair.
Yes.
Pump station upgrades, we've done about $50,000 worth of pump station, or I'm sorry, about $30,000 worth of pump station upgrades, including with some grant money, which have definitely increased the ease of maintenance for the waterfront area. We've implemented a new waterfront district to help pay for those. And there are some other upgrades that we do plan to do to make worker safety and access a little easier. And then we've implemented a fats, oil, and grease policy to ensure easier system maintenance throughout the road. thank you for your time. If there's any questions, of course, you know, reach me.
Matt?
And I hope there's a no for this.
Why can't we have somebody from the sewer authority come to the council meetings and give a monthly report?
We used to have the director come. We used to have, after that, I was coming about once a quarter or so. And I'm certainly happy to do it. I'm hoping that we're running the system efficiently enough that you're not getting complaints that things are directed to us at our meeting. Again, I don't want to tie up this meeting. I know prior to the authority, it was 4 hours worth of sewer talk, so we don't want to do that. But, you know, I'm more than happy to do it at any time and more than happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. What's the total indebtedness? Do you know, combined long and short-term debt?
Yeah, I think it's about 16.
Or
no, I'm sorry.
10
Yes.
$9.
$9 million.
$9 million? So, I guess I went to Steel Valley, so maybe my math is bad, but when you say that you're gonna sell the sewer authority maybe 16 million, maybe it's 19 million, and you're gonna have 13 million to play with to do projects in the borough and put 10 million in the bank. If you get 17 million, they have 9 million of debt. Do the math, it doesn't leave 13 million.
Could you ask me to talk, could you tell Mr. Lloyd how much cash is on hand?
We currently have about
2.8.
$2.8 million.
Okay.
That's how you do the math, Mr. Lloyd.
You're still not coming up with 13 million.
You're close.
Not coming up with 13 million.
Okay,
That's total
19.5.
with our capital reserve.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's total with our capital.
We're gonna go to report. Really, after the reports from the mayor now, then we'll go to items of consideration, okay?
Gotcha.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's been a long pandemic, and we've all suffered through all this stuff. And maybe part of the problem with the bar area down there, people just want to get out and go places and do things. It's everywhere. Baseball games are becoming violent. Maybe the whole nature of everything is just crazy right now. I don't know. But certainly, I have to let you people know from down on Munn Street, we are going to be back there for you. And the chief's already scheduling. We're already working on schedules. We are going to be down there for you.
Thank you.
Well, I
Guaranteed.
thank you, and I hope you do, because in the past, you guys have failed us.
Well,
So I hope we see it.
it's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure it happens. Absolutely. And the chief's going to make sure it happens as well. But both of us are going to make sure it happens. We're not going to let you down there. You're just as important of a resident that lives there as on West Street or any other part of the borough. Absolutely. A couple things I want to talk about that we need to look about in the future too. And absolutely, the sewer authority is an asset. And the sewer authority will be invited next year as many times as you like to come to the meeting and come and give a report. You'll be invited every meeting. If you want to come, it's your choice. If you want to come quarterly, whatever. And the same with maps. We have to have them come to our meetings. And they have to be part of the discussion of the town. They're part of our town. We need that. And that brings me to a question about maps. I thought it was on the discussion that they're moving forward for a referendum. I saw that on emails or something. Are they moving forward with that, Joe? Are they trying to talk about
asking to.
They are asking to. They don't need to ask us. They need to ask.
The boroughs have to do it. I had a couple conversations with Homestead and West Homestead. If it's going to be on a referendum, it needs to go collectively on all three.
I would think so.
And before council wants to, and this is the conversations I had, this isn't me saying this is some of the things that we said, we talked about, is how is that place run? Are they staffed correctly? Do they spend their money correctly? Before we put something on a referendum, and this is the conversation the three of us, I had with the three of us had, is before we put it on a referendum to say, by law, we gotta give you 1 mil or 2 mils or whatever we're gonna give you. You better make sure that that company's run properly. So it was, again, in the conversation, suggested before this goes on a referendum, doesn't it make sense to maybe get a consultant to look at that and see how it is run, to make sure it is run properly before these tax dollars are going to them? And the money's used wisely, not being wasted? That was one conversation I had with the other managers, and they can
Well,
what it's worth.
that's why I'm bringing it out, because the conversation didn't come around me, I saw it in an email, so that's why I'm bringing it up. We need to have that conversation. We need to talk about that, or do we want to do that? Certainly, we're not supporting maps. You know, the donation that we gave them last year was not for 2020. It was for 2019. We paid them their donation of 2019, whatever that amount was, a year and a half later. We didn't give them any money last year in our budget. There was no money budgeted for maps last year. So we need to really think about, we have to support our EMS service as well, one way or another. So that conversation needs to be made. That's an important issue as well. We're not here for that tonight, but we are here in person again, which is a great feeling, because Zoom meetings don't make anything happen. I mean, so much is lost. You don't get information. You can't ask questions. You can't look at someone and talk to someone and say, hey, I got a question. It's very hard. Nothing good comes from that. And frankly, a lot can be misconstrued over emails and Zoom talk and everything. So again, my thoughts are moving forward. What are we going to do with Westfield? I have questions on Westfield. I have questions on, all the public parks and fields and recreation. We need to look at that. I mean, is Westfield open now at all for people? Can we go in and walk around? Can people walk out in the park and the field now like they used to? Or is it locked up?
It's locked up.
It's still locked up. It was just a question I had. I don't know.
That's a good question. I mean, we talked about what we want to do at that field, but it comes down, again, budget items. How much are we willing to put into that for people to walk when other people go on there and they destroy things and break things? We put a lot of money in these bathrooms over and over and over. We came to a conclusion that we're charging $200 to use the field as a security deposit, because if you rent the field, right? You rent the field, you're taking that ownership of the field. If you're not watching what happens in those bathrooms, and they're getting destroyed and clogged, and we have to call a plumber in, and we got issues, you should pay the $200. So people don't want to pay the $200.
Probably more than $200.
But they pay $150 for a game, per game.
Wow, okay.
We have been with Atlantic Coast Baseball. They got Becky, what was the invoice for this weekend alone? $3,700. They have 2 people that come here and watch the field. Our police lock it up. We have a public works on call really assigned, right? And he gets paid accordingly how many times he needs to come down here. So we can open it. We had those field marshals. By the time you talk about the field marshals and all the problems that occur down there and all the damage that is done, it costs money. And other municipalities in their fields, because we got some comparisons. Rob, we had a meeting and Rob had some comparisons. We're not the highest paid field.
We're on the low end.
You mean of our fees?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, we need to look at that. We need to generate.
We did, and now we charge $150 a game, $200 security deposit, and then we're making the people to use it, the teams that use it, more involved with what's going on in the field. We can't have people going in there taking food and they're throwing it around. Public Works has got to go in here and clean it up. It's not worth it.
So, one other item I'd like to talk about briefly is the finances of the borough, where we're at. Rini was bringing that up a little bit. When this project is done and over with at the Willis Center, and we're moving in there, are we going to be so strapped at the end of the year that we're not going to have enough money?
No, if you remember when we did the budget last year, we had this, we were very, very thin. We were very close to the budget. Now you have things that come up that we need to, we are emergencies, that we're not gonna have a lot of this money, but we still have to get it. So, right now, we're treading along okay.
Okay.
We gotta watch how we spend money. We lost a police officer, we lost some public works. These are things that,
Well, these are concerns that people have.
these are the concerns that I have. These are the concerns that we had, Becky and I had when we did the budget last year.
Wow.
And we looked at all this, back to my point of my report, I reported to say, we're gonna be very thin. We averaged, you know what, $450,000 the last couple of years in paving. This year, we cut out $300,000 in paving. You know why? Because it wasn't in the budget. So right there, $300,000, if we want, that $300,000, if we put that in the budget, that's gonna be in the tax increase. You have wages and different things that are gonna go up, insurances are gonna go up. These are all things that need to go in
Well, we
where
know,
we are.
we realize, everyone realizes that. The bottom line comes to, you know, X amount of dollars were spent in the Willis Center to X amount of dollars we have left.
Right. Well,
And that's the main question is, you know,
we
are we gonna make it to the end?
Yes, but keep in mind, I mean, we keep looking at the money that's spent over there. Make no bones about it. If
We're
we
still spending money everywhere else.
And no, but if we didn't spend the money at the Willis Center, that same exact money at least would have been spent on the refurbishing of this building.
Absolutely.
So
That's not the question.
we're not talking about, you know, if we didn't do that, Kevin, right? If we didn't do that building, we wouldn't have to raise tax or anything. No, we would have just put that same amount of money into this building.
So,
Wait a minute, since you brought up my name.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
Can
I do finish? Jeez. So, we get $1 million from the federal government for COVID relief, is
Right.
that what we're getting?
Right.
Have we received that?
Yes, half of it, and that's just the way it was. We get half now, half later. We put it in, it's called the American Rescue Plan of
Right.
2021.
And we've received.
It's called ARPA plan. We received $575,000. That $575,000 right now is sitting in what we call the ARPA account.
So it's set aside, and
Right.
it can only be spent on certain items, certain ways, correct?
You're correct. And that's, you know, that's Greg. The other day, I called Greg and said, hey, what do you know about how we can spend it? He said, it's not clear yet. I called Ann Lewis at the COG and said, hey, can you do something with all our 19 of us municipalities to find out what we can do with that money? They say to replace lost revenues. What does that mean? Anything that we didn't get the same amount the year before?
So when will the second portion of that come?
Next year.
Next year.
Next
Okay.
June.
Good. Well, these are questions people say, oh, we're getting X amount of dollars. Well, we didn't get X amount of dollars.
Yeah,
We got half of that right now. We haven't spent that yet.
And we have till 2024 to spend this. We do have some, and I'll talk in my report about some of these MS4 issues that occurred that we've been working on for 5 years that we had to repair, so we didn't have more damage of other things. That money will be able to pay for these two projects.
Okay. Basically, that's a couple of the finance questions. That was my concern tonight. I don't really have much more to ask tonight, but I certainly, I'm certainly glad you're here. Thank you.
May I finish?
I'm done.
Okay, so since you brought up my name, and you are absolutely right that if we didn't spend the money at the Willis Center, we would have had to spend it here. But here's the thing, and I've said this over and over and over again for people who have been to meetings over and over and over again. Did all of you walk up on the sidewalk into the building and come up to this room? You did. Did you actually see anything but maybe the place needs painted, maybe the floors need cleaned? Am I correct in saying that? So, instead of dumping the money in that building, we could have did so much this year in this building, so much next year, so much the following year. It didn't have to be a massive amount of money all at one time.
untrue.
Every day, there's people who come in this building and work. Jackie, Becky, Joe, the police, every day. Every day. So yes, this year we do the electrical work. Next year we do the plumbing work. Next year we paint it. The following year we do this. Maybe we might have to spend $50,000 or $100,000 or something to do a project. But it didn't have to be done right now. That's all I have to say about that subject.
All right, solicitor.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Okay, I have a few items for discussion. First, we have, my office has just drafted the updated memorandum of understanding for police services between this borough and the Steel Valley School District. As the council, the mayor, and the police and public may be aware, the school requests the placement of one police officer from our department annually to be identified as a school resource officer, and the school pays for the salary and all the benefits of that officer, but we have to have an agreement in place. And so that has been updated essentially under the same terms and conditions as last year, so that'll be ready for council's action at the appropriate time. Secondly, we've had a lot of discussions, public hearings, meetings, starting at the Planning Commission, coming to Borough Council on changing some language in the zoning ordinance for General Service District to specifically remove, there's a prohibition about eating and drinking establishments. This isn't something new. This has been in discussion for 6 months. And council approved after multiple public hearings to move forward with that change. The reason we're not acting on that tonight is because by law, I'm required to submit it to the county planning agency, and they have 30 days to offer their input and suggestions or comments, and that 30 days has not expired yet, so I will have that back before the next meeting. I can consider that legally. If there are any recommendations I agree with, I'll refer that to council, but and it probably should, I expect it will be ready for action next month to finalize that zoning ordinance change. Another item I wasn't going to speak of, but I thought it needed to be addressed when Matt Bovee was talking about why we're not doing an RFP and so forth. And I didn't even mention this last week at the meeting because it's really putting the cart ahead of the horse. Although I did talk about this probably at least a year ago, what this process is. Assuming the council would ever vote to move forward with the sale of the sewer authority assets. The reason this can be done in this manner, and it's unusual historically for 100 years of local government law, is there was a new legislation passed in 2016 known as Act 12. And that's what started with McKeesport and some other municipalities such as Brentwood have followed this, that allows a direct sale from a municipal entity that owns sewer system assets to be sold to another entity that's regulated by the PUC. And the process is, if the two parties come together and sign a written agreement, which of course hasn't happened here, then the valuation is determined under the specific statutory requirements. The PUC has certified appraisers. And the municipality, the municipal entity picks one, and the buyer picks one, and those two appraisers come in and set their value, and if the parties don't agree, then it will be the average of those two. So this is a long process, but, and again, I never brought it up last week because we're not even there, but just so I wanted to answer your point about this process and how it will work, and that's why you don't have to do the RFP, and this is the process that has been followed, so.
I thought that the process of the authority was able to sell to a private entity, not necessarily the borough. So because our authority still exists, without dissolving the authority, that was my thought, but I understand.
Okay. Well, and there might be additional steps, but again, we're not there yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and lastly, on point with the issue that the mayor asked about with Westfield. So as you know, and the public is certainly aware, and everyone here on council, the mayor, that we have a long-standing agreement with Chatham University that they lease the field on certain times and for certain uses, which they enjoy, and they pay the borough for use of the field. And they came to us I have notes, it was back actually at the beginning of the year, and indicated that they were interested in renewing for an extended term. And this was brought up at council, and so the suggestion was, well, Joe, why don't you and Greg sit down with the director, and I forget the title of the gentleman that we met with, and begin to explore this, which we did. And when we left the meeting, he seemed interested to pay more. And I said, well, why don't you go get the authority that you have? I said, I would suggest that the next step is, why don't you send me your formal lease agreement or proposal? And I can put that in front of council, and they can consider it and decide if they want to continue on. And as we know, we've discussed many times, it's expensive to maintain Westfield, which is the obligation of this borough. And so any input council has indicated might be helpful. So anyway, and this was a negotiation that Joe was primarily involved in with the amounts. They have been paying now $15,000 a year, which I indicated momentarily ago, and Joe suggested, in order for them to continue, they should really amp this up, and they did. They submitted a new proposal offering to pay the borough $50,000 per year, payable in 2 equal installments. And I just received this, it came in through Joe, and he forwarded it to me for my legal review, and that's what I always do with any contractual documents. And I made some notations on there. So this is something that will have to be circulated among council and the mayor for review and consideration. And of course, if there to be any negotiations, we would need to discuss that privately, because we wouldn't want to get out, and that's how it's supposed to be done. But I can just announce this generally to the public at this time. So they're willing to increase substantially their payment contribution to continue to have their usage. And one of the things I look for, of course, because there is a priority reservation for the school district to be able to use that, and that's part of the terms. And they recognize that, and one of the conditions is that the school would have to not be utilizing the field, but they need reserve time. So they're suggesting these reserve times, and that's something that would have to be worked out among the parties. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's something that should be considered by council going forward. The current lease that they have will be expiring shortly, so that's open for your discussion and consideration. Other than that, that's all I have to report this evening.
Mr. Bashford, can
Yes.
I ask you just one thing regarding the Chatham?
Yes.
How long is that agreement for? 50,000 for how long?
It's a
2 years?
five-year lease with an option to renew for 5 more years.
Okay, has it ever been thought to propose it, to advertise that the field is available, to see what other schools, because we have a lot of colleges around here, and they might want to use it. I used to be on Parks and Rec, and Mr. Foss remembers, Still Valley Soccer was willing to pay a lot more than $15,000 back then. I'm just saying, I think we should also, before you settle for one, we should perhaps put it out there. Because maybe Pitt would want it, maybe Duquesne would want it, maybe so. There's a lot around here.
Pitt got their own.
And competition is great.
Well, that's not really a legal issue, that's something the council would have to decide.
Well, I'd like
The
to
legal
just put
proposal
that out
here,
there
if council
before they
wants to
settle for this.
negotiate, then I'll do more.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome,
I
thank you.
have a question for you as well, Greg.
Yes.
Because your first statement was about the contract with the school for a officer. Isn't there 2 officers, or is there 1?
That's for both.
Yeah,
2.
okay, then I misspoke. All right, that would know.
So it's still the same with 2 then?
Same arrangement,
Good.
just renewal. I
Good.
misspoke. Thank
That's
you.
okay.
The only thing that was changed from last year was the date.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. That's all.
All right, Borough Manager.
Okay, Council Mayor, you have a packet. First thing, Pennsylvania Act 65 of 2021, the new agenda requirements that the governor has put out there for how we can conduct meetings. So things have changed. One thing that struck out is you have 24 hours you can add to the agenda, and you can put it online. So there are some changes in the agenda requirements. So I put that in everyone's box. The bridge loan was signed and completed. Bridge loan, for those who don't know, we got $1 million grant. Part of the stipulations in the grant is you have to have a bridge loan to pay the bills until the grant comes in. The grant may take a while. The grant was 2,000 pages long. Tax anticipation note. I would like to, if anybody, I don't think we have to vote on this, but if anyone has a problem, we paid for it in August of last year, or July of last year. I would like to make the payment now to get the tax anticipation note off the books.
How much is that, Joe?
$1,012,983.87.
Is there any discount, Joe, paying it now, rather than waiting until December?
We don't have to pay interest.
So we save some interest.
We get it off the books. We don't have to worry about coming out with $1 million plus
Interest.
down the road.
How much is that, Mr. Baldwin?
$1,012,983.87.
If I could just comment, it's not due till year end, which everyone understands. If you pay it off early, you save the interest. But if council wants to pay that off now, it should be done by motion.
Motion?
Oh, wait, the public before, so that'll be an added motion in case the public has a question about it.
Motion to pay.
Well, $1,012,983.87.
Any questions on?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Since, unless you want a discussion on the motion, what happens?
We can do that under public comments on the
You
agenda.
gonna put it down there?
I've been
Okay.
thinking, and that's
Put it
up
down
to you
there.
though. But
1800 West Street, which is the old Homestead Hospital, the green building. It's been an issue of who has the building and who provides public safety. Right now, Munhall Borough, it's a taxable structure in Munhall Borough. Homestead provides the public safety. The county's came to me and said, this is very frustrating, we need to get this fixed, and we need to get it fixed now. So, the options are this. Munhall Borough provides public safety to that building, and not Homestead. Or Munhall Borough transfers the taxable asset to Homestead. Now, it's not a big deal right now because it's tax exempt, so it doesn't matter. But what happens 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that becomes a taxable structure. Somebody puts money into it, now you got a $10 million bill. We're not gonna have those funds. They're gonna go right to Homestead because we gave up the building. So we need to talk, and Pat, you talk to Glenn and Eddie, find out what we want to do with that building. Council obviously has say, input, but we need to discuss that, and we can have a separate meeting to discuss that as well, if we need be. Any thoughts, Chief?
Like I said, I've been here 26 years, Glenn's been involved with the borough longer than that. That was always, we were told Homestead's property. We had the ER was in our town, every other part of that hospital was in Homestead.
Yeah, it's like an 85-15.
Yeah, so I don't know.
That's why Homestead always took the emergency calls because.
So what?
I don't know if we need to sit down with County 911.
No, it's not County 911, it's county mapping, county real estate. So the problem is this.
Like I said, we were never told that property was a Munhall property. It was never.
I know, and that's what I'm telling you. I've been talking about this since, that's why she's frustrated. But what do we want to do? Do we want to keep it as in the borough and provide public safety? I mean, we got a fire department walking distance. Right. So, I mean, I would think that's what we want to do, but.
We agree?
Right, I mean.
How do we agree on something?
To be honest with you,
Hey, Dave.
It ain't over yet.
Dave, that's because you're learning.
Is that what it is? Hey, I'm new at this, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm new at this. I'm a jail.
We'll talk about that later. All right,
Joe, we'll take care of it.
all right, we talked about the MS4 and
Is
someone,
Homestead willing to give up their portion?
they don't have a say-so.
are, if it's taxed, and if it's taxable body not done, it's hard.
The taxes come here.
If it were
The
taxed.
counties,
If it was taxed.
well, right, if the water taxable. But in order to change it, the homestead would have to agree to take it.
Okay.
If they didn't, then it has to remain.
And they're gonna take it because they're already providing the public safety.
Right.
So,
I agree. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
it's like two storm sewer issues that were crept around here for what, since we've been here. One was Green Tree Road, Green Tree Road's going up to St. John's. Been having problems with those storm sewers, Glen forever. But waiting for me, call them here. We go down there, we put a Band-Aid on it. We try to fix them. We do this, we do that. This year, we said, okay, we need to put a catch basin in an area. They went down, let them jump in if you want. Our public works went down, they said we need to put a catch basin. It was an easy fix. When they go to do the easy fix, they went from 24-inch to 18-inch to 15-inch. And Mayor, that's a no-no.
No, you're right.
So that was the major problem. So now this small job to put a catch basin in turned into put all this new pipe in. So we got that done. That will be paid out of the ARPA funds. But again, an issue. The other issue was on number 5 Firewall up on Whitaker Way. The VFW fixed their parking lot and it's nice and smooth now. And they came to us and said, all this water is coming into the fire department. What's going on here? We vacked it out. I always call it shop vac. We vacuumed it out. We cleaned it all out. Everything was clear. Same problem. So we went and found out what the problem was. The drain had no pitch to it. So it was sitting like this. So it storms. It was backing up before the water sat in gullies and puddles and different things like that. Now it's coming here and they're continuing to flood them out. So we went up there and we replaced the pipes and got the pitch that it needed. And then this weekend they're gonna pave it. All they're charging us to pave it, which is the VFW is doing. They just want some money, $1,000 for the asphalt itself. Their people are going to do it. So those are jobs, and those are the jobs that I talk about that creep up all the time that you can't anticipate what's going to happen. Last year we got a $250,000 recycling bin. We bought a recycling truck. We bought a dump truck, a tarp, different things like that for public works for our recycling. We have $25,000 left over. Not much you can do with that. We're going to buy the bins, new bins, gold and orange bins. We're running out anyway, so we figure we'd exhaust the grant money with that. We were looking around this multimodal transportation grant, and we were thinking about where we could use it. A good idea would be to use it on Main Street, put some nice planted plotters and some benches and some lights, and we already have it. That's there, so we don't want to walk away from this grant. We said, where could we possibly use it? And we're going to have to pass a resolution if we want to move forward. But Colin came up with the idea is we're going to have the new Raymond Bonner Way, which is what, a driveway, right? Let's get that redone and made look like a street, like a Raymond Bonner Way should look like. So we can go ahead with that grant, and but we would have to have a resolution approving us to move forward with this grant. Put that on as an addition. And Colin signed this before. I just got this while we were in this meeting. Where's the money at? Okay, June expenditures for the building were $900,328. That was one payment to the contractor and some engineering costs. What was totally spent so far on the new construction? $5,060,969.87, which is roughly $5 million. What is available? $23,402.74 until today, is the $850,000 bridge loan we can start drawing on. Now, we don't have to pull all the money out, put it in there, pay interest on it. We'll pay interest on the money as we borrow it. Again, that was a requirement, that bridge loan was a requirement of the grant. We don't do the bridge loan, we don't get the $1 million grant. What's the general account balance? 3 million, let's just say 3,170,977. However, the tax anticipation note is in that number, so if we pay that off, that will come down. Where we at from last year? Probably right around the same area. So we're trending pretty good, where we were hoping. And that's the end of my report. Any questions?
All right, Paul, engineer.
I'll start by giving an update on 1860 West Street next door. So the contractor contractually is about 93% complete. Our remaining obligation to them on the construction contract is about $330,000. That's what they have remaining to earn. I do want to bring up one thing. So before I get to that, what is going on there right now? Yesterday, I talked to Joe and the superintendent there. They had a cleaning crew and the superintendent was there from Franjo. So very little is going on there right now. Just so everyone's aware that there's two contracts. One is with Franjo, another one is with a contractor called JetJack, who's installing all the building utilities, so that's sewer, gas, water. They're also gonna refurbish all the site, do all the concrete, after the utilities are installed. So they have, the sewer lines are laid, but we're missing a pump that they couldn't get because of COVID and lead times, they couldn't get the pump. It's some ridiculous lead time. So they're waiting on that.
And the water meter was the same way.
The water meter was the
months
same
to come
thing.
in.
So the water service got installed yesterday. The gas service is waiting to be installed. We talked to the contractor this week. They're gonna be back on site next week to finish the utilities. Then they'll start redoing the concrete around, the Veterans Memorial and restoring the site, and it'll start looking normal. And then once all that is done, Franjo will finish their remaining work in the building. So all this is coming together real time. There was a couple wrenches thrown in the schedule, but that's generally what's going on.
So are there some pictures that people could see about what the new memorial would look like? Have we gotten that far?
So, can I get to that in
Sure.
a second? Okay.
Sorry, I jumped in.
I'm sorry, I'll try to keep it as quick and
No,
but
keep
to prevent from going all over the place. So, so that's what's going on with the building. We're getting towards the end of the project. Over the life of the project, there was changes that had to happen, work that had to happen that was out of scope. When I say out of scope, it was not included in the contractor's bid. The majority of the changes were for code compliance. There was some communication equipment for the police department that was missed, that was required by state law. After our fire chief did his inspection, there was some smoke alarms that were required by code that weren't in the original contract. I'm trying to think of what else. Two-way communications in the elevator lobby, that it was a culmination of minor things. There was 6 things total, and the total of those changes amounted to $97,000. And that's over a year of construction on a $5.5 million contract. So I crunched the math. It's 1% it's a miracle that we, in my opinion, that we got through a project this size with that level of change. And really, we all worked together very well. The superintendent for the contractor retired. His last day is actually tomorrow. Our meetings have been less frequent. Trap. Yeah, Mark knows him well. He said that, he's been doing this for 37 years, and he was amazed how well we all got along and worked together. So things really went well, but that was a little extra cost. It's got added to the contract, but it was all stuff that we had to do. And if we didn't make those decisions, we didn't do the stuff, it would have delayed a building permit, it would have cost more down the road, so there really wasn't an option. So the other questions you asked, Mrs. Fry, is when is Francho going to be completed? This is my estimate, it's probably going to be within the next month and a half. And then we'll be closing out the contract. Grand opening, do the math on that, we're probably looking at realistically September.
Which is what we said from September, October.
Yep.
Are they gonna do anything to the memorial? Is that
That's part of this.
Yeah, so the Franjo, all they're doing around the memorial is like where the old pavers came out. Not the pavers that are part of the memorial themselves, but the pavers that were like the sidewalk. They're replacing that there, that concrete there. We didn't have any money in Jet Jack's contract to do anything with the war memorial. However, Joe and I'll roll this into the next thing. So I'm done with the building, unless there's any more questions. But with the multimodal opportunity, in the past this came up. We said, well, there's really not much we can do here. Like Joe said, there's Main Street, but there's already multimodal is the county wants to, or the state and the county make funds available if you can encourage multiple means of transportation. So it's like walking or riding your car to take a bus, like a park and ride. And they make, so it's very specific uses. But our grant writer, preparer, our grant consultant said, well, you can use it for streetscapes if it's gonna encourage walking. So Joe and I said, well, Raymond Bodner Way is now a public street. Can we use it for that? She said, yeah. So the paving out there is atrocious now. It needs to be done. That wasn't, part of it's the fault of the contractor, or it's just not the contractor, but construction. But the road there was like 1 inch of asphalt on the road to begin with. The road was never built right, ever. So now it's becoming a concern because it's like it's like a dust bowl every time you drive through there, and it's making the building dirty, it's gonna increase cleaning costs, and even worse, it could impact the new HVAC, the heating, and air conditioners on the roof. So we need to do something about it. So we said, how about that? But, since it's a grant and, we'll make the ask, try to cover as much as we possibly can, and if we get less, we can scale it back. We've done it in the past. So we put an allowance in the grant for in addition to the paving, it would cover landscaping along West Street and along Raymond Bodner Way. It would cover enhancements to the Veterans Memorial. We don't know what that would look like yet. We just put an allowance of money in there for it. And would also cover some lighting and some other streetscaping. So that's what that's what we're gonna work towards.
And keep in mind, there's a bus stop right there.
Yeah.
We have bike racks right there. Please, back here. And so, there is, multiple walk, people could park there and walk or whatever. And then we looked at that war memorial. It's hard to even look to see the names on there. It needs completely redone. So this is a good opportunity. And she has, the grant consultant has war memorials on the radar, waiting for something like that for a grant, so we can say, okay, we need to replace all of those.
Well, we were actually planning on doing it differently than what it is.
Right.
We see now.
So right now, just to be clear, when I say allowance, there's not any plan that, this is exactly what we're doing. We just, hey, we need $30,000 to fix our war memorial, and then there's a budget for it.
Well, here's the thing, I mean, it would be nice, being that all summer it's been basically torn up, if we could have that either in the process of completion for Veterans Day.
Yes.
I mean, that would,
No, we're not gonna get this money until November. We won't get it approved until November. Now, we can clean it up.
Take a bridge loan.
The one, that's, I know you're making fun of it, but that's, you can't do that.
Right, I didn't know if you could or not.
There's $850,000. We got
If
$1
we can do it
million.
for the new borough building, we
There's
should be able to do
another
it for the veterans.
$150,000. There is money probably gonna be there that we can do that. And you do want to incorporate it, so now, that's the side of the building, right?
Mhm.
But so what? People see it there, so you want to make it look nice. And we talked, Kevin and I talked about, you can't even read these bricks. They need redone, or whatever. You wanna sell some for other people to get a brick in there and make it look like a sitting area where you come out and sit, so forth and so on. So these are things that like a monument. Yeah, that's a possibility.
yeah, the thing is those bricks, people pay, families pay to have those bricks made there. So basically what we're saying is we're gonna have like a monument like we do down in Kennedy Park and up on Main Street. People pay to have those bricks in there. So,
I'm not saying to get rid of them, that's just an idea, and this is where we are with this, an idea. But you can't read those bricks, so we would have to try to identify what the names are, and maybe get them regrooved, or whatever you call that, recut.
So, what are they, wore out or what?
Yeah.
From people walking on them, wore down?
Just weather.
Weather.
So don't do it tonight, you won't see.
So if you think our banner program, like on Main Street, which is probably the best that I've seen in any area, I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but our banners up on Main Street are exemplary. It would be nice, because I think that people who got banners for our Main Street would also maybe be interested in putting a brick of their loved one or whatever down here, I know I would, so.
Could be a fundraising source.
It could definitely be that, and talking about grants or whatever for that money, there has to be something out there from like the federal government. There has to be,
Especially.
So,
Jamie Glaser from Commonwealth Consulting Partners is pretty plugged into all the opportunities that come up. She's looking.
yeah, that's cool.
So-
If you know, if you think there's something out there, let her know.
Yeah, it would be, well, it would be not a shame, I shouldn't use that term, but it would be a shame that if that one was not done by Veterans Day, but,
Well,
so.
I will
It'll be
say
the same
this,
shape
Kevin.
as it was
Yeah.
when it started.
Yeah.
It won't, I know it looks a fright now.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna look like that much longer. Before the contractor leaves, it'll be clean, there'll be concrete poured around it, the grass will be reseeded. It's not, I know we lost some trees and stuff in the area, so it's gonna be a little more barren than it was, but it's not gonna look as bad as it looks right now.
Well, I wanted to bring that up under additional items and stuff like that, but we covered it and stuff. Here's the thing, and I could be wrong, we have 2 flags that are missing over there. I'd really like to get those flags up.
Okay.
Do we have the flags?
We do have the,
I believe so. Took them down, right?
no, they blew down, the halyards were rotted away and they just literally blew down. So we need,
Well, just buy 2. Why would you need? Yeah.
I told Bob Bicey to buy the rope, the halyard, to put them back up.
So we have the flags?
We do, yeah, as far as I know, we do.
What are they? What flags are they?
One is the Marine Corps flag and the other, I I want to say it's the Army this time.
Get it up.
There's two flags now, you know?
Get it up. Do you need help for the contractor? Like
No,
piece of equipment or
and I didn't know this until the first one that came down. Those aluminum flagpoles just basically lift right out and break it down, put the flag on, set it right back up.
Well, the electric in there for those lights is an extension cord buried in the grass. So that needs a lot of work, a lot more work than you think.
Oh,
But if
yeah.
we need flags, I'll drive to 88 tomorrow, the flag factory, or Friday, the flag factory, and pick them up.
Those flags were new last year.
Right.
That's what Rick and I,
Where are they?
we took them down over the winter so they wouldn't get hammered up and put them back up on Memorial Day. So,
Check on that.
Yeah, I thought they were, in the office or
so, okay.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you just,
Yeah, we'll
like,
get
the
the
flag
new-
factory is.
You can go,
like-
I'll call them, tell them you're going out there, you can go pick them up, look at them, you don't have to pay for them. Oh, yeah,
Why would I have to pay?
because they'll blow out.
Oh, whatever.
It's important we get it done right, because that was done, actually done by the borough, it was done by Eagle Scout, Boy Scout, to get his Eagle Scout badge, so it's important we do, fix that right.
Go right ahead.
Becky, there's one other thing, just to update council on. Every year for the last 4 years, we've been working on a catch basin replacement program. So Munhall Borough hasn't paid a dime out of pocket for it. We've probably replaced $400,000 worth of, maybe not that much, $250,000 worth of catch basins at this point. So we don't have to pay this, but we have to recommend, authorize the COG to pay it out of the grant. So could I please ask council to consider a motion to recommend Steel River's COG pay Creative Enterprises $51,412.50. It's a partial payment for this year's catch basin replacement project they're working on.
Authorized. All I have to do is send an email.
Yeah.
I just forward
Right.
stuff.
Yep, and say it's, the council approved this. That's it, Harley, unless there's any other
Really?
questions. Yeah.
Vice is not here, right? You're, Chief Campbell.
Mr. President, 533 calls for the month, 18 arrests, 35 citations.
Fire Chief.
Unfortunately, we've been very busy. Back in June, we had 45 calls. 2 of them were major fires, several accidents, and this month is not doing much better between the storms and so on. We're on pace for right now to have 500 to 600 calls in the borough. So we're kind of hoping things slow down. That's all we have right now.
Boom.
You have a copy of my report. The only thing I have to add is that the courts have opened up, and in the next 3 months, I'll be taking close to 60 people to magistrate for various weeds, garbage, structural faults. Are there any questions?
Okay. Items for consideration. Public comment on items for consideration. Only items of consideration. Go ahead, Dan.
Since it was brought up to add the tax anticipation note payment, I was just doing some math here. So if you take the $1,012,983, and then you subtract that from the general account fund balance, it leaves 23% of the budget left with 6 months of the year to go. And that was somewhat concerning to me. So I took the payroll, which is $262,000 a month, and multiplied, and then add the regular expenditures, excluding the debt service payment and the miscellaneous and the paving, which is a one-time expenditure on the paving, that's $214,000 a month. That's $477,000 a month. And if you multiply that time, oh, and you have to add one more payroll, because this only includes July 8th. That's $130,000, which brings you to expenditures that you're going to need to make in the next 6 months of $2.992 million. But the money left is, according to this, $2,157,000, which would appear to create an $834,000 deficit by year end unless there's some money. Was that this bridge loan you were talking about?
No.
So it looks like there's going to be close to an $800,000 deficit by year end, unless my math is bad.
Probably.
You might have still got it.
If I went to Duquesne, I made up for it.
That's right.
That's the math. I could be wrong, but that appears to be the math according to these numbers. Is this, Joe, can you tell me, is this 902,000? Is that out of?
It was just like when you were here, same way.
It
was paid up to what, this meeting.
Is this 902,000 included in your 3.17 million that's left? Because this hasn't been approved
No, this is
yet.
already out.
That's out?
This is out.
So it's a
Yeah,
ratification?
we're not doing any different. In fact,
Okay.
Rick was the finance chair when I got here, and we do it exactly the way you did it.
Okay.
The way we report everything.
That's fair enough, but the way the numbers are, if that's out, it looks like an $834,000
Everything's
projected deficit.
exactly as you had it when you were here.
Okay, fair enough. That's my only comment.
Ready?
One of my questions was, under the motion, number 2 motion to pay bills, you had $261,375 from waterfront MTC. Does MTC mean maintenance? What's MTC?
Maintenance.
Okay. And then you had, we were paying the library, which I know we do. But when I subtracted the library amount from the debit service that's listed, I know it's only $821.21, but I was just curious, where was that money spent on?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Under motion 3,
Yeah, I understand that.
debit services, yeah, it's $124,000. But underneath, because it had 3 stars next to it, the 3 stars referred to the Carnegie Library donation. So when I subtracted that figure from the figure that you had above, I was wondering what happened to the $821.21.
I couldn't tell you all.
That's just part of it, that's,
It's
the
whichever.
library donation isn't the complete debt service, that's just part of it.
Yeah, we only
There's
put-
other debt
I
service.
couldn't tell you exactly where everything is spent off the
It's
top
the
of my
wood
head.
chipper.
Fill out a, right to
Becky,
the request.
you know what, Joe, Becky just said it was a wood chipper.
It's the wood chipper. It's the wood chipper payment and interest.
Thanks, Deb. I can't wait till we can get actual finance reports, actual finance and see everything. But that day will come, I'm sure. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, Beck.
Motion to negotiate with the American Water for the sale of sanitary sewer assets.
Need a motion. No motion. Scratch one. Want to do that? Tax legislation loan?
Sorry.
The pan loan?
Oh. Look back here. Motion to pay $1,012,983, did you say 86 cents, Jim?
87.
87, okay, for the tan loan.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. In fact, do you have another motion before pay the bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Raven Bonner Way one, I apologize, I didn't get the wording for it. It's the paving. You would put one on for motion to do the
Yeah.
paving on Raven
We
Bonner?
got a couple more.
Yeah, I have two, I have another one after that.
Okay, motion to authorize payment to Still Rivers cog.
Oh, that's this one down here.
That's what the Raven Bonner Way was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then there's another one, motion to apply for the multimodal transportation fund grant from the Commonwealth Finance Authority.
Okay, what is the last part of that, Joe? Motion to apply for the multimodal transportation grant.
From the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for Raymond Bonner Way. Approved.
Okay, so you want to do that one next?
You can.
Okay, motion to apply for the multimodal transportation grant of the Commonwealth Transportation Authority for Raymond Bonner Way.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good, Becky.
Motion to authorize Still Rivers Cog pay Creative Enterprise $51,412.50.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good. Good, Becky.
Motion to pay bills for the period of June 12th, 2021 through July 13th. I apologize, I didn't change the question marks. 2021 summarized as follows: $902,800.55.
Need a motion? Gotta pay the bill.
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good, Becky.
Motion to approve payroll for the period of June 24th and July 8th for a total of $262,745.40.
Motion.
Motion by Ross, need a second? Second by Rich. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's it. Additional items, Kevin?
Mr. President, I'm gonna make this as quick as I possibly can. And I really hate to bring this up because, we're talking about finances and monies and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody knows this, and I'm sure, well, maybe we do. We are in dire need of hiring at least 4 people on Public Works. There's usually 18 to 20 people, and that's also including summer help. We don't have any summer help yet. So, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but this money for individuals was budgeted, and we do not have the people to actually do this. If we get 1 or 2 more guys go down, whether by injury or whatever, we're in trouble. I don't want to pick on Mr. Cole because he's not here in that aspect to talk about the borough crew, but he will attest that we do need more people hired. So if we had 2 people retire and 1 left to get another job and 1 guy off hurt, in my calculation, that's 4 people. We need 4 people, but it was budgeted for, am I correct? Their money was budgeted for last year.
And we knew Kevin wasn't coming back. We knew Bob Shields was leaving halfway through. Neville's was the only one that was there in Ned. Again, we knew going into this year was going to be very thin. So these are some things that help the budget. Dan, to your question before, we are going to be thin. There's no doubt about it. I said that how many times just today. It's very thin. My question is, if we're going to hire more people, I think we need to discuss where that money's going to come from, whether it's budget or not. Also, we have some people that work on public works that choose not to come to work too. We need also, need to sit down and talk about what we're going to do about the issues. There are people that will tell their friends that they're not coming to work tomorrow, and guess what happens? They call their friend and tell them, you're gonna do garbage if I don't go to work, so you might wanna call off too. We have people that have already allotted their sick time throughout the year. They use their sick time already every year by June. I think that 12 days of sick days is a lot of time. However, with public works and police, you don't want to come in there and get on the back of a truck with a headquarters on, so they get these 12 days. But for the same guys that consistently, and these are the guys that you're talking to back there, these guys are that consistently don't want to come to work. Those are the problems we need. And that's what we need, all council, everyone to team together and say we need to make improvements with what we're doing here, not have people stick up for these people now. We need to put something.
So what are they using, FMLA?
One person?
And what about the other ones that don't come to work?
No, they just
lose it.
They just not get paid.
Well, why don't you do a paper trail and fire their ass?
We know.
You think it's that easy?
No, I know it's not that easy. I work for the government, remember?
Because other people get involved with personalities, and we can't sit there and do what we need to do.
Well, you know what, when I do go back there,
We got something.
I actually speak to everybody back there, am I right or wrong?
We have something.
I don't take people off on the side, or people don't take me off on the side, I speak, you know, me and them, and I go back there and I speak with all the guys and stuff back there. So I'm just relaying that, I know that, last week when trash was being collected, the combined age of the three guys, the driver and the two guys collecting the trash, picking up the trash cans, was like 168 years. That's a lot of time. So what's happening now is we're putting older people on collecting trash, which lifting up heavy cans, summertime, you know, the trash is way more than it is any other time of the year. One of these guys go down, or two of these guys go down with an injury, we're in trouble.
We have to, because you know, Ken, we're putting in older guys, like you say, on it, because the younger guys aren't coming to work.
Right.
They don't want to work.
And I understand that, but the problem is are we, yes or no, are we 4 people shy, yes or no?
I have never been here long enough, and Glenn, you may be able to answer this. A borough of this size, how many people do we have? Just because we lost 4 people doesn't mean we're short. We could have had too many at one time. If you want me to, I'll start investigating. We're doing a collective bargaining unit. I'll investigate how many. You look by the miles of roads. We'll look at the miles of roads and the amount of residents, and we could tell how many we need. We did that with police years ago.
Yeah, I can tell you this, this is the time of year when people take vacation, they
Yes.
go away.
Yes.
So this is always a rough time of year for manpower. You know, I see it in our department, I'm sure Bob sees it in his department. People get vacation time, this is the time of year they use it. So if they're thin now, it's usually like that every year.
No, I understand, I work for a living.
No, I'm just saying.
Vacation.
I understand about vacations, you know,
You got people
I
just
do.
going sick all the time.
Yeah, Kevin, let me explain something. Everybody weed whacks around their house and their cars or trucks are parked in the driveway, right? What do? We can make sure that our cars don't get dirty. We don't have to move the cars, right? We can weed whack around it. My car yesterday, and Timmy Tishron's car yesterday, was filthy dirty with weed whacking. You know what that tells us? You know what that tells us? That the guys that were weed whacking are out there ticked off because they got to cut grass and weed whack, and they made sure our cars got filthy dirty. So you know that. You're laughing because you know it's the truth, right? This is what we need to do. And we can't have personalities where they go and they say this. We had one guy show up with a diaper in an interview process. No. He showed us a picture. He showed us a picture of him in a diaper. He said he went to college just as his dream job to become a garbage man in the borough of Munhall. With another guy, we told him that you may be on garbage for 10 years. And he said, that's fine. The hard work that I do, this is nothing. Now they don't want, no one wants to work and do the work. Come here. do the job. I could show, I could take you, Kevin, and I will take you in the next couple of days, because we'll have them do some work over, weed whacking and cutting the grass and things over in the new building. And I'll show you the finished product.
Well, that's one of the unfortunate things this year, and I understand there was, budget, we did tighten our belts up. We have no summer help this year. We used to have 7, 8 summer help, and they would do a lot of the weed whacking. They weren't allowed to throw garbage, but they did a lot of the jobs that, which aren't getting done right now, unfortunately, because of the summer help, where the summer help will do it now. They're not there. Hopefully, we can find a way to get that back next year.
Okay, well, I got one more thing, and this is gonna be a quick one. Joe, as you know, I walk my dog up at Woodhill twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. I was up there the other day. I'm gonna say kid, had to be doing 60 miles an hour from Woodhill Drive up to the concession stand, turn around, went down Shady Avenue about the same speed. If I was able to get around the field quick enough, I was literally gonna, Dave, I'm sorry, I was literally gonna step in front of his automobile to make him stop.
Don't do that.
Okay?
I didn't step in front of his
So I was speaking
automobile.
with the girl, if you go in Woodhill Park, the girl who lives on the right-hand side there, right on the corner. She has kids, she has pets. She was complaining to me about the speeders that go up and down that street. What are the chances of us getting rumble strips or something and putting it in there? Because somebody, and it even happens when there's ball games going on. Somebody's gonna get killed. A little kid's gonna ride, somebody's gonna get killed up there. And that is our Munhall Park.
When you talk that way, that's you should talk to the chief and the mayor.
Oh,
You mean, I brought it up many times.
in the road that goes up to the concession stand,
Parking lot.
in the parking
That's
lot.
our property, you can do whatever you want there. You can put speed humps in, you can do whatever you please there on our property, the road is different story.
I suggest we put a police officer up there and try to catch these people. Put them on Shady Avenue, put them on the
Well,
road.
I'm not saying that. I don't want to use the police force and our resources to do something.
That's their job.
No, it could be. But the
Joe, you
thing
put humps in,
is,
they can't
for
do
something
that.
as simple as putting in a
Or
couple
bumps.
speed
It's a
bumps.
parking lot, you can put bumps, speed bumps.
Put speed bumps in there, because I'll tell you, this
Bumps
guy had to
only
be
cost you
going
what?
50 miles
Police
an hour.
officer cost you all.
Now, the problem is paper,
You're talking about in the park.
Right, in the roadway that goes up
It's a-
into the
It's a parking lot,
parking
they don't use it
lot.
in the winter.
You want the speed bumps in there, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. And one more question. I went up there the other day, there was a young kid pulled in, he was by himself, got out of his car with a basketball, walked over, and the basketball court. Is that girls softball or is that ours? The basketball court?
Everything's ours.
Okay, so this kid walked out of his car to shoot some hoops, get a little bit of exercise, and there had to have been 8 automobiles parked on the basketball court.
Was there a game going on?
Pardon me?
Was there a game going on?
No, they were going in that,
Again.
yeah.
that's call 911.
Yeah, and I didn't think that they were allowed to park on the basketball court because this kid was really PO'd that he had to leave. He goes, all I wanted to do was shoot some hoops.
They did have a thing going, when there's a game, nobody can play hoops.
Correct.
They had some issues up there with the basketball court being a distraction and problems during their softball league games. So at that time, it was encouraged they park their vehicles there
During a game.
during a game.
That's
But
fine.
yeah, not otherwise.
I mean, there was nothing going on out there other than there was 4, 5, 6 automobiles parked on the basketball court, and this kid was really PO'd that he couldn't go up there and get some exercise.
Did you see it, Kevin?
Call me or call the
Call-
station.
Kevin, were you there?
I was there.
Well, you should have went in there and told him move it.
Carl, I didn't know what the rules were up there. I didn't know if that was their property, our property, whose property. Well, now I know it's ours. So I will say something. I made the mistake of saying I would jump in front of that speeding automobile, but I won't do that. But
Call me, call the station.
Sure, I will.
Instead of you getting into it with somebody, just.
Well,
It's probably gonna be Ryan McConnell and whoever.
Russ Fagan's gonna say, okay, I got you, I want it.
all right,
He's
no
gonna
problem.
move it immediately. I mean,
Yeah, that's cool.
It
All
worked
right,
very well with
that's
them.
it. I'm done. Thank you.
I'd like to end on a positive note.
a little bit. This Saturday is the Borough Yard Sale event. We have about 50 people registered, Becky told me today. I think that's great. Probably more people may be registered yet. And you don't have to register. Some people may just bring their stuff out for the yard sale. And it's all on the borough website. You know what streets advertised who are having the yard sales. So that's a positive thing. That'll be this Saturday from 8 to 1. Even if you're not doing a yard sale, I'm gonna take a ride at some of the places. I'm gonna take a ride around and visit a few of them. And secondly, Community Day is back, October 2nd. And it'll be in Troutman Field. We're already in the process of booking. We've already booked some bands. We've already have some concessions that are vendors that are gonna be selling some food. And again, it is in conjunction with the Carnegie Library of Munhall Homestead.
Did you have a meeting already?
There was a meeting last month. Yeah, with Don, Carol, Sheree, myself, Matt. Do you want to come next? Do you want to come next one?
Let me know what it is.
More than welcome to. I haven't set, the date hasn't been set yet, because summer's kind of rough to get, you know, sometimes 5, 6, 7 of us together, but I'll make sure.
All right.
So that's the 2 items that I just wanted to bring up with that. So get ready for the yard sale. Even if you're not having to take a ride around and visit some of them.
Colin, you got anything else?
Yeah, I want to give a report on.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion. All in favor, Ron? Second.
Second, all in favor,